So good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I'm Shilpa Thakur. I'm the General Secretary for IPAIN Delhi chapter. And I would like to extend my warm welcome to all the chairpersons, faculty, speakers, and delegates present over here. So this webinar, it is an observation of the World Hypertension Day, which normally commemorates on 17th May. So I welcome you all on this webinar on hypertension, current trends and future perspectives. This year, the theme was measure your blood pressure accurately, control it and live longer. So aptly the theme has been kept for. The theme pays attention to the effective means to improve the awareness among the general public. So this initiation which we have taken from the Delhi chapter, it is again to join hands to raise awareness, to combat the hypertension and to improve the quality of an overall life of a common person. So with this, I would like to welcome and invite our chairpersons. Our first chairperson is Dr. N.R. Dash. He is President IPAIN Delhi chapter and he is heading the Department of GI Surgery, AIIMS, New Delhi. But he'll be joining a little later because he's got some busy important schedule being raised up right now. So he'll be joining in middle. Our second chairperson is Mrs. Anita Jitana, and we all know her very well. She is consultant dietetics in the Apollo Hospital, and she is convener IDEA Delhi chapter and vice president for IPAIN Delhi chapter. She's also convener for NetProfan, which is an initiative of FSSAI, and she hails 45 years of experience in the field of nutrition, been awarded with many professional achievements. Latest is the award, the Scroll of Honor for Professional Achievement in the Lady Irwin College, which was awarded for outstanding contribution to the field of dietetics at 75 Founders Day. So we welcome you, ma'am, over here, and over to the chairpersons to take the program forward.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. A very warm welcome and good afternoon to all the speakers, esteemed speakers, and the delegates, the audience who found time from their schedule running around and being here today. As Shilpa said, we are here to celebrate Hypertension Day. She mentioned it. The theme is very, very apt today. That measures your blood pressure accurately. Know it, control it, and live longer. Most of us don't even know that we are hypertensive, and it just gets detected just by routine check when you go, either you got some surgery slated or you got just for your checkups and you find your blood pressure high. I remember as a child, my father used to say at the age of 40, anak lagegi, blood pressure hoga, diabetes hogi. But today we are seeing it more and more in the younger generation. And I think my youngest stroke patient was at the age of 28. Both he was hypertensive and he was unaware that he had blood pressure. A very common word, everybody talks about it, hypertension, but why is it on the increase? Obviously, we are paying a price for our very, very high hectic schedules. We don't sleep enough, we don't get a 7 hours sleep. A lot of urbanization, fast foods, packaged foods which are loaded with salt and trans fats, and going low on fruits and vegetables, which are potassium sources, which we know blood pressure, salt, and potassium works in the reverse, and no activity at all. And the levels of hypertension are increasing across. In US, it's at 47%. India is at 29.8%. Of course, more in urban at 33.8%, and rural at 27.6%. Not to say the children are not hypertensive. The figures are already at 78% for boys and 7% for girls. So you can imagine it's just one thing that you can control, which will improve your quality of life, and early deaths and mortality, stroke, CKD, all can be avoided by just controlling this one small thing as hypertension. So let's take this as a very serious venture. Let's work towards it. There's a lot of information that we have, and we've got esteemed speakers here to impart that knowledge to us. So as dietitians, let's get loaded and armed with information so that we can pass on this information to our patients when we are dealing with them. So over to you, Dr. Manju. Would like to introduce her. I think we've all seen her, heard her plenty. Has more than 30 years experience. Yeah, she's a chief diabetic educator and nutritionist with over 25 years of experience in counsel diabetes for the diabetes management. She's known for her work in that. Worked closely with the leading endocrinology of India, Dr. Ahuja, Dr. Amrish Mittal, Dr. Wangnu, Dr. Jingat. I think we know all those names. Done a thesis on gestational diabetes in India, working actively on project on prevention of gestational diabetes, ICMR, national and international publications, plenty in her name. Currently associated with Max Super Specialty Hospital since last 14 years, active members and program manager for Certified Diabetes Educator course as MEPS. So over to you, Dr. Manju. Lots to hear from you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. So I'm really honored to be a part of this, and I'm sure as a nutritionist, just give me 1 second. Sorry. So as a nutritionist, we all have to be aware about that, how we can, work up on all these things. So my topic is basically to talk about that how diabetes and hypertension are correlated. Diabetes, we are from millions to we are converting to billions, That number every year you find in the newspaper is changing so often. And there are a lot of things which lifestyle can do it with our dietary modification, with our behavioral change, avoiding, putting ourselves in a physical activity, gyms and even gyms at park has been mushrooming everywhere all around the Delhi and Gurgaon and all NCR places. So I think if we just work up on these things and highlight and make people aware about these things, we can handle many complications which are diabetes related, which is blood pressure related. As I just mentioned, million to billion. There was a recently last week, there's a article in newspaper that the number of diabetes type 2 is growing up every year. Every decade the number is threefold, fourfold, it's going up that high. So we have to be very careful that how with lifestyle we can modify this. And we all know that type 2 diabetes is a lot more to do with lifestyle. Then heart disease ratio, we know that diabetes is prone to have, you are at the risk to have high, heart disease or stroke or kidney issue, amputation, blindness. So you will, it will be a eye-opening figure if you hear that the amputation out of 100, 80% is because of the diabetes, because of uncontrolled diabetes. The renal issues is quite much closely related to kidney, to your blood pressure. Your heart is quietly closely related to your blood pressure, stroke. These are so much, engrouped into each other that if we handle one thing, the second thing can be handled very well. So let's understand about blood pressure, like ma'am was highlighting. So normal systolic blood pressure we know has to be below 120 and diastolic below 80. Elevated is when you can work upon a lifestyle till your blood pressure is between 120 to 130 or diastolic basically below 80. It is completely a lifestyle which can handle it. So if you take care of a salt intake, preserved food, canned stuff, and all fast food we have nowadays, or frying we have. So if we take care of all these things, I'm sure it is easy to manage the elevated blood pressure. Hypertension stages are there, which keep complicating, and the medication part, prevention of all these complication, diabetes related complication will be easy if we handle on these things. I will be talking about the drug therapy also. So the hypertension crisis is a medical emergency now, and each and every person who are in a severe or a crisis stage has to be taken on medication. It's a very common myth when we are seeing patient, we do hear, we don't want to put ourselves or we don't want to addict ourselves with the medication. So there's certain limit for it. We can't say, okay, let's keep doing it. That's why I have mentioned these stages, that even till stage 2, the lot of lifestyle can work up. But once you are in a crisis, once you are in a more than that, lifestyle doesn't work, maybe you need to have a medication for a shorter while. And as person loses weight, is able to manage their blood pressure in a better way. Diabetes, we all know that type 2 diabetes is like almost diabetic figure. If you look at 80-85% people are suffering with type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is a hidden diabetes. It doesn't show off immediately. So we have to be very careful and observing about, because if you look at the sign and symptom of diabetes is nothing which you can correlate with the disease. So if you're thirsty or you are hungry or you're urinating more or fatigue, you feel this is because of summer, this is because of the, it's so much of heat. Maybe I'm working more, maybe I'm aging, that is why I'm getting more fatigue. So these things are never has been taken seriously. And that is why the preventive health programs are working so well, that if we keep enrolling ourselves, or if we keep checking our blood pressure or sugars on a frequent interval, we can prevent all the complications which are related to these diseases. Diabetes, we categorize, if your HbA1c, glycosylated hemoglobin, is less than 5.7, you are non-diabetic. But if it is ranging between 5.7 to 6.4, you are pre-diabetes. And this is the stage when the action plan of the lifestyle modification is required. There are many of them, the figures, billion, millions are showing, but there are many figures which has been even unveiled, to see that what is happening, where we are standing in pre-diabetes. And diabetes is more than 6.4 is diabetes. For good control diabetes, to prevent complication, 6.4 to below 7 is the target values for any age group. And what is the link between diabetes and hypertension? So basically, both are lifestyle related. If we have a sedentary lifestyle, if we don't have, much activity, if we have got more abdominal obesity or large BMI, I'm sure we are at the risk. Inflammation, oxidative stress, like ma'am was highlighting. So even the stress level, if it goes high, our hormone release in the body, which affect our metabolism, which is affecting our weight, which is affecting our sugar and blood pressure and all the parameters. And when we have got more visceral fat, I hope you know visceral fat. Visceral fat is a fat which is coated on the internal organs to prevent the friction between the all organs. But that layer keep increasing because our lifestyle, because our fat intake, because of no activity. And that creates insulin resistance. So insulin resistance can be easily seen with the acanthonephrosis, which is a dark patches on your neck or your underbust or underarms, which can be seen. So these parameters are easily accessible and findable, where we don't need medicine, and lifestyle. With lifestyle, we can work a lot on this. So diabetes is also the similar factors: inflammation, oxidative stress, activation of the immune system. So autoimmune disorder, type 1 diabetes, which we call, or pancreas getting affected, and disease with a thickening of blood vessels. So this is because of the inactivity, high cholesterol deposition, smoking. They are the contributor factors for thickening or narrowing the passage where the blood flow has to go. So since we have hypertension, maybe not caused directly to something related to diabetes, but they both go hand in hand. If we are managing one, the second we can easily prevent. If we have hypertension and we work on the lifestyle and eating habit and managing weight well, we can prevent diabetes as well. And if we have diabetes, similarly on the lifestyle, we can work up to prevent all these complications. Diabetes and hypertension, when both are going together, risk to diabetes complications is much, much higher. So cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, stroke, vision loss, retinopathy, which is very common if blood pressure is uncontrolled with diabetes, or if diabetes is uncontrolled. So if we manage both the parameters well, we can prevent all these complications. Nowadays I do hear a lot of time from my family member, from my patient, that my family member is diabetic. So why I'm going to, my dad is diabetic, my mom is diabetic. Anyhow, I'm going to be diabetic. Or hypertension. My mom is hypertensive. We have got a whole family having hypertension. So that's because of the lifestyle. The whole family is eating the same kind of food. And that is why this is contributing to. So when we work upon lifestyle, we work upon not one lifestyle. There's no diabetic diet. There's no hypertension diet. But yes, the whole healthy, balanced diet, if the whole family is consuming, they can prevent all the complication, all the metabolic disturbances. So hypertension type 2 show the similar risk, as I mentioned, being overweight, having obesity, sedentary lifestyle, following unhealthy diet, experiencing chronic stress, having poor sleep patterns, smoking. They are the contributors, and stress. I think we all have stress, some one or the other reason. And we can't say don't stress from tomorrow because, that is going to increase your blood pressure. Or a lot of time you must have seen doctors say, no, you must not stress, or stop stressing. Is it doable? No. So what one can do if there's a stress, and we all have, even a small child of 2 year, 1 year also have a stress because they don't know when mother is going to look into me or when she's going to give me a food. So the child is also have got their own stress. So when we are exercising, when we are working out, we release that stress level. So we all know that when we are stressed, there's a cortisol hormone release in our brain, which contribute to metabolic disturbances. And when we exercise, so we neutralize the effect of it. A lot of time, female comes and this is, we do all the household chore, and I'm sure we don't need to exercise. That is along with the stress. Or even if you're active throughout your day routine, try to spend 30-35 minutes every day to work out for your physical activity. And I'm sure you will find that your metabolic is improving, your stress level is going down. And I'm sure that all NCDs, non-communicable diseases, blood pressure, diabetes, heart diseases, cardiac events, they all will be settling down. So then once you have settled down on stress, you are ready to take next stress. But if you don't relieve that, then that stress contribute to anxiety, depression, and all other parameters. Similarly, sleep pattern, our body has to relax. If a sleep pattern is not or less than, 7 hours. Nowadays, if you look at the lifestyle, people are on Netflix 2 a.m., 3 a.m., and then getting up 11 o'clock, So with that, what is happening? The body, system is completely changing. The body rhythm is completely changing. Our morning metabolic rate is pretty higher as compared to evening. That is why, and then if you're waking up at 12 o'clock, so you are slowing down. If you're starving that long, you are slowing down on your metabolism. So these are the certain lifestyle changes which you can do it. Smoking is, again, it is compressing your arteries. So if your arteries are compressed or hardened, then definitely the blood pressure is going to go up. And blood pressure is not going properly, the cardiac risk is there, the kidney risk is there, the stroke risk is there. So that is why smoking has got no scope with diabetes, with blood pressure, with heart diseases. We can't stop, inhaling because the air pollution. A lot of time when I'm talking to my clients, they says, you don't get vegetables properly, or you don't get, milk properly. You are emphasizing a lot on milk because of osteopenia, but you don't get good quality milk. You don't get good quality vegetable. That is there. You don't get good quality air. You don't get good quality water. So what should we do? So for that, again, important is that the exposure to pollution we have to restrict. So grow plants, improve on your, surrounding, go for a morning walk in the green areas or open area rather than inside. So that will help you to improve on your oxidation stress, and that will improve on your body metabolism as well. Now, additional risk factors is all these, bakery food. We have got pizza, we have got burgers, we have got breads, rusk, what do you call, cookies. They all are high in sodium. So, a lot of time for all your patients with has got hypertension or cardiac event, there are a lot of invisible sodium which is going in. So when you are ruling out sodium, must rule out invisible sodium sources also. And low level of potassium because no fruit intake. Very poor fruit intake, or all has got cans or a bottle rather than a fresh fruits or the fresh juices. Well, fruits are always better to have as compared to juice, because when we juice it down, we throw the fiber, we concentrate the source of calories. So it is better to consume fruit as such. And for blood pressure diet is also that you have more potassium in the diet rather than sodium. Another very common concept is going on that people are shifting to senda namak or kala namak, that they feel that this is better than the sodium. But end of the day, sodium is sodium. The salt is sodium. I have come across a family who all have got thyroid issue. Mother, father, children. And children were in the early teens. And I was surprised to hear that when I came to know that they have been avoiding iodized salt completely because of all these issues. So iodized salt is very, very important. Nowadays, black salt is also coming iodized and pink salt is also coming iodized. But very important is the quantity, that you have to be very careful. What quantity are you using, rather than shifting to, these kind of salt. High alcohol consumption. So alcohol is not no, but the quantity is very, very important, because alcohol is empty calories. Yeah. And having family history, genetically, environmental factors. So these are closely knitted that can give you non-communicable diseases. A close family history of diabetes has got the increased risk for type 1 and type 2 both. Having hypertension is an increased risk of trusted sources for type 2 diabetes, and having diabetes increases the risk of hypertension. As I said, they are closely knitted. They go hand in hand. So this is all what we need to understand about that, how good and bad they can be, but how we can prevent. That's the main objective. That is what we are here to understand, that how we can prevent it, how we can avoid reaching to complication. So how we can prevent hypertension and diabetes is basically the most important is work up on your body weight. Work up on your body weight. And nowadays, there are a lot of smart scales are there, which can give you even the body composition. Because BMI is becoming a secondary level. Now, primary is that how's your muscle mass in your body. With age, the muscle mass is going down. Every 10 years, after the 30 year, every decade, you are losing 1 kg of muscle mass. So, which is a big number. And we being Indian, we are low in proteins. So that's another drawback. We have to work up for healthy weight. We have to work up on proteins more. And it has been proven that if it loses 3 to 5% of body weight, you can prevent hypertension. If you loses 5 to 7% of body weight, you can avoid landing up into diabetes. So in both the scenarios, weight management, healthy body composition is very, very important. How can we do that? By improving on our diet, by making sure that we get sufficient protein. We have a lot of fiber in our diet, a lot of vitamin minerals in our diet. As I highlighted, Indians are mostly, Asian population is mostly osteopenic. When we come across preventive health checks, we see that more than 80% people are suffering with vitamin D deficiency, vitamin B12 deficiency. And if D3 is lesser, I'm sure the bone health is going to be poor. So how to improve on your bone health? By regular walks, as well as vitamin D3 supplementation required in Asian population. There's a sun exposure. We are blessed that we are in a country where every day there's a sunrise, but still look at the figures. When you look at the figures, you feel, oh gosh, what is happening? So I think supplementation for vitamin D become very essential. When you are physically active, you are able to absorb calcium better.
Manju, can we request you to wind up in another 3-4 minutes?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Yeah.
So being physically active is very, very important. The minimum 150 minutes in a week, we should do that in spite of whatever activity we are doing. Alcohol, I've just mentioned, this is about a DASH diet. So DASH diet is including more fruits and vegetable in your diet. Use more of a whole grains. Take care of your fat portion. Take care of your, non-vegetarian. Take care of the fatty area of it. That's more important. Alcohol, as I mentioned, that is a plain empty calories. So be careful about the portion size and eat healthy snacks with it rather than namkeens and fried. Smoking, we have got no scope to leave smoking for diabetes, for hypertension, for cardiac. So I think avoiding is completely important, because with that, you can prevent yourself from retinopathy, from amputation, even your neuropathy, very common with diabetics. that they have got nerve pain, or B12 deficiency, as I've told you. Treatment part for nowadays for diabetes management, I think SGLT2 inhibitors and GLP are excellent for weight management for type 2 diabetes, not for type 1. Hypertension, to prevent all the complications of kidney and heart and all, ACE inhibitors, doctors are providing, receptor blockers are providing, calcium channel blockers are there, beta blockers are there, diuretic and vasodilators. So basically we are releasing the nerves to make the blood flow smoothly. And to summarize, diabetes and hypertension go hand in hand. If we control diabetes, we can, if we control blood pressure, we can prevent diabetes complication. Ideal blood pressure is 130 by 90, less than that. HbA1c good control is below 7 for diabetics. Cholesterol levels, LDL, total cholesterol, and TG's triglyceride has to be less than 150. LDL, which is bad cholesterol, should be less than 100, and good cholesterol should be more than 40. Every time to meet your doctor, should get your foot examined. Retina should be checked every year by all the diabetics to prevent blindness. And DASH diet goes for both, for diabetics as well as hypertension. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Manju. Yeah, I know the last few slides, I think I made you rush through, but excellent session, and you really summarized it beautifully. If you take care of one, you take care of the other, and if you take care of your weight, you take care of all. So
Correct.
I think, yeah, putting it all together is important, and lifestyle, as you said, is important. And we don't talk of DASH diet, but I think somewhere down we've forgotten it, and we've gone more and more to fast foods, which is really to be blamed.
Correct,
So your
correct.
message is loud and clear for everybody to follow.
Thank you so
So
much.
we'll have the question answers, Manju, together. We'll have the next speaker now.
Yeah, we'll later on we'll have.
Yeah.
Dr. Manju, please
stop
stop
sharing.
sharing your.
Dr. Ha. Yeah. We have Dr. Himani Puri there now for the next, as the next speaker. I think we've all heard her a lot too. She's a certified diabetes educator and sports nutrition advisor, trained on use of FODMAP for IBT Monash University, which really works. And her two athletes have represented India at Tokyo Paralympics 2021. That's really great, Himani, a feather in your cap. Program officer in IP and Renal Nutrition Core Group. She's chapter secretary IPN, secretary Nashik District International Human Rights Organization, editor Healthcare and Medicine for Online Bulletin, members of various foundations, regular features on national news channels, and conducted various talks and scientific sessions and workshops at very international and national conferences, author and co-author in many nutrition books. So over to you, Himani. Let's hear from you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you to the organizers for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to talk today. I'll just share my screen. So basically, I'm pitching in for Mansi today. She was unable to be present for the talk, and I'll try to do justice to her talk today.
And a big thank you, Himani, for that.
Thank you.
At such a short notice, really grateful to you.
Thank you. Okay. Are my slides viewable?
Yeah, good to go. Good to go, Himani. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So good afternoon, good evening, everybody. And thank you for being present here today. We are talking about hypertension. A lot of things have been spoken about hypertension. My preceding speaker spoke quite elaborately about how hypertension has to be managed, how we have to be looking at various parameters regarding the weight, regarding the lifestyle, where diabetes is concerned and where hypertension is concerned. So I'll try to go a little step more deeper into the same thing and try to resolve your queries. Of course, we are available for the questions later. So I'll be talking about the non-pharmacological management in hypertension. As we all know, hypertension is becoming one of the leading NSCDs. and lot of awareness has been created, but still a lot of undiagnosed cases of hypertension still remain. We still see a lot of diagnosed but uncontrolled or but untreated cases of hypertension as well. This picture represents the hypertension cases in the US scenario. However, I'll be talking about the Indian scenario here. India is committed to the 25-25 goal, that is 25 by 25 goal, which talks about reducing the premature mortality due to non-communicable diseases by 25% by 2025. And hypertension is one of the major non-communicable diseases that we are dealing with right now. As ma'am said, we are seeing more younger population coming up with hypertension or raised BPs as against the older population of hypertension that we were seeing a decade back. Almost 1 in 5 Indian women and 1 in 4 men is suffering from hypertension. Wherever, when it comes to treatment, only 7% of the diagnosed women and 6% of the diagnosed men are taking medications for hypertension. A lot of them are ignoring it. A lot of them are not very regular with their treatment. This was something which was again viewable or came to light during the MMM drive, which was being conducted by IIPN India during the month of May. As you can see here, almost 23% of the adult population of India is hypertensive, and only 14.5% of the individuals are on the treatment for hypertension. Kerala, Telangana, Karnataka, Punjab are the leading states as per the survey done. A lot of Sikh community has more of prevalence of hypertension, followed with Jains and followed with Christians again. So this is an eye-opener for us that almost 1/4 of the population of India is suffering from hypertension, and still it is only less than 15% of population that is being open to taking treatment for the same. So of course, medicine is something which everybody fears. So I'll be talking about the non-medication part of how we can manage the hypertension, of course, but this does not replace the pharmacological treatment for hypertension. So as you can see here, there are various parameters which can work on the management of hypertension. So circadian rhythm being the first, body weight management, which was spoken by Dr. Manju, healthy dietary pattern, physical exercise, and of course, the psychological stress, which we now see has been coming into limelight and focus more during the COVID and the post-COVID era now. So when we talk about all these parameters relating to dealing with hypertension, we know that physical exercise does improve the hypertension, does improve the cardiac health. We also know that reduction in the body weight or maintaining an ideal body weight helps us reduce the insulin resistance, helps us reduce the insulin resistance, and can thereby increase the blood pressure. Healthy dietary pattern, of course, again helps us maintain a better insulin resistance level, helps us maintain our RAS in the body, which again is going to help us improve the blood pressure in the body. Circadian rhythm is something which I'll be talking about in my consecutive slides. And finally, the stress management or the psychological or the emotional maturity of the person, because that again somewhere affects the inflammation or increases the inflammation of the body, which again can indirectly lead to increase in the blood pressure. So as I was talking about the circadian rhythm starts with the sunrise and goes on till the sunset. As you can see here, it starts with 6 a.m. and follows the entire cycle through. So with the rise in the sun, we see a slight increase in the blood pressure, which is of course balanced by melatonin, which is controlled by the pineal glands in the hypothalamus. So as there is a progression in the sun, we see the alertness in the level. We also see a change in the blood pressure, and we see that the greatest cardiovascular efficiency happening at around 5 p.m. in the evening. And we see an increase or the highest blood pressure at the time of evening, that is 6:30. So we have an increase in the blood pressure starting from morning and going up to the maximum in the evening at 6:37 in the evening. After that, then again, when the melatonin secretion starts, there's a decrease in the blood pressure, there's a decrease in the body temperature, and and then you sleep. And then again, when you rise, there is a slight increase in the blood pressure. So therefore, these are the time points where we have to be checking our blood pressure at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening, 6:30 in the evening, where we are supposed to be having the highest blood pressure in the body. So the blood pressure starts with the person wakes up and peaks throughout the day. However, if there are changes in this circadian rhythm, if you are traveling from one zone to different zone, this can affect your circadian rhythm, and this can again affect the blood pressure of the person. However, there are other various parameters which can be affecting the blood pressure and which can be affecting the circadian rhythm. So what are the factors which affect the circadian rhythm? Some external factors like artificial light, for example, switching on the light and sleeping, or maybe screen time while sleeping, the noise, maybe from the TV or from the screen or from the surrounding areas, certain medications, your diet, like eating too heavy in the night or eating too late in the night, or what you have consumed in your food. For example, consuming a lot of caffeine containing drinks, which act as a stimulant, can affect your circadian rhythm, can affect your sleep pattern. Also, doing too heavy exercise in the night can affect the circadian rhythm and can actually cause sleeplessness, hormone levels. Your working schedules, if you have an evening shift and you are sleeping in the morning, or if you are traveling from one time zone to another, or the daylight saving time can also shift your circadian rhythm, or maybe might take time for you to adjust to the new cycle. That can affect your circadian rhythm and can affect your blood pressure. Certain other internal factors like your body temperature, illness, stress can also affect the circadian rhythm. So as I said, the blood pressure starts increasing in the morning and reaches its peak throughout the day. However, there can be certain alterations or pattern change happening in this. Why? When there is high blood pressure during the night, or you are observing a high blood pressure early in the morning, or you are seeing a sudden drop in the blood pressure overnight, or you are seeing a sudden rise in your blood pressure over the night or the morning. These are the factors which determine or tell us that there is irregular blood pattern happening, and we need to monitor this. Again, other things which can affect our circadian rhythm and can affect our blood pressure are poorly controlled blood pressure because of irregular medication intake, obstructive sleep apnea, or maybe if you're suffering from some other comorbidities like kidney disease, diabetes, thyroid disorder, or maybe a nervous system disorder. So therefore, when we are talking to a patient or to a client, the first thing that we need to understand or discuss about with them is about the circadian rhythm, about their sleeping pattern, about their waking up pattern, whether they have a good sound sleep or not, and whether they are completing their proper 7 to 8 hours sleep in the 24 hours. The next that we come to is the lifestyle changes. As Dr. Manju said, lifestyle is very, very important because the lifestyle becomes an integral part of the circadian rhythm again. And we have strong data to prove that lifestyle changes actually help improve the hypertension state of the patient. A decrease in even 2 mmHg of blood pressure decreases the mortality rate by 7%. Lifestyle changes also help improve the sensitivity of the hypertension medications, and we should be able to get better results with the lifestyle changes. Increasing in the vegetables which are rich in nitrates, magnesium, calcium, and potassium. Foods like avocados, nuts, seeds, legumes, tofu with minimal processing would help us to improve the blood pressure parameters and would help us to improve the sensitivity towards the medicine also. There is strong evidence to prove that reduction in the sodium improves the blood pressure. Cessation of smoking improves blood pressure. Increase in physical activity, decrease in weight, a proper balanced healthy diet, avoiding binge drinking, and decreasing the alcohol intake would all contribute towards a better control of the blood pressure. Moderate consumption of healthy drinks. Lot of information is floated about the red tea, the blue tea, the green tea, the white tea, the purple tea. But then how much and when is the very important question. a lot of people come to me and ask me that green tea is good. So can I have 6 or 7 cups of green tea in the entire day? But then that is something which is not really advisable, because consuming in moderation gives us the benefits, but excess or binge drinking is going to give us negative effects. There is detox tea available in the market, which is a green tea, which comes with a lot of salt in it. So rampant consumption of such teas again is going to give us the ill effects of consuming excess of salt. Juices, of course, in moderation are good, but excess consumptions of juices and green coffee, black coffee, again is going to shift the circadian rhythm and going to cause insomnia and indirectly lead to raised blood pressure. Where the exercise is concerned, 30 minutes of exercise 5 days a week is advisable. However, there has to be a gradual increase in the exercise. We are now seeing a lot of evidences or incidences of people having heart attacks or MI during the exercise tenure. That probably is because of lack of warm-up, lack of sleep, lack of recovery, and the pattern of exercise. Sudden sprinting exercises or sudden jerky movements or irregular pattern of exercise is what is causing us those stresses. However, if we are maintaining a regular 30-minute exercise with a gradual increase in the intensity, we would be able to improve the cardiac muscle health, and we would be able to improve our cardiac health also, and reduce the blood pressure in general. So as Dr. Manju said, DASH diet is something which we should be focusing on. It has been observed that a healthy, proper, balanced diet, a DASH diet, can actually help us reduce the blood pressure by 18 to 14. A regular 30-minute exercise, aerobic exercise with same intensity without the peaks and lows in the exercise level can help us reduce the blood pressure by 4 to 9. A reduced dietary salt intake less than 2400 milligram can help us reduce the blood pressure by 2 to 8. Moderate alcohol consumption. This does not mean that someone who is not drinking should start drinking, but for those who are into excessive intake of alcohol, should try to reduce their alcohol intake to maximum 2 ounces for men and 1 ounce for women in a day. That reduction can also again help us to reduce the hypertension. And weight loss is a guaranteed, warranted, sure shot way of reducing our blood pressure. Maintaining, though this cartoon talks about BMI, as ma'am said, BMI has become a passe now. We should be focusing more on the waist-hip ratio. A waist-hip ratio of less than 0.8, 0.9 is considered to be the best. That helps us reducing the blood pressure again by 3. So these are the basic pointers that should be focused on, discussed on when we are talking about management of hypertension. These are some of the recommendations for the salt and the sodium intake given by various societies. WHO says 5,000 grams, that's milligrams, or 5 grams of salt intake in the entire day is what is recommended. European Society says 2,300 milligrams of sodium in the entire day is advisable. American Heart Association says that not more than 1,500 milligram of sodium. ESC and AH are talking about the sodium content, that is the sodium coming from the table salt, should not be more than this. This here, what I have given you is the composition of the sodium and the potassium of the various commercially available formulations in the market. As you can see, a lot of them have varying degrees of sodium, but then they also have corresponding potassium levels. So we have to be very, very clear while explaining to somebody that if they are going on a low sodium salt, they have to be looking at the potassium content also. Because many a times I have actually had a lot of CVD patients coming to me with hyperkalemia, and it was later found that they were actually consuming low sodium salt, which in fact was increasing the potassium. The other thing that happens is, because the low sodium salts have a little less salty taste to them, people tend to add a little more or a little extra to get that salt taste. That nullifies the benefit of having the low sodium salt, and we might actually end up with the person having a high sodium intake and also having a high potassium intake. So both of these things should be discussed, need to be spoken about and taught about when talking about hypertension, not only about the sodium content, but also about the potassium content. Lot of preservatives also are available, which are sodium free, but then they are potassium based, which again can lead to hyperkalemia, especially in the patients where CKD is a factor to be considered. The other thing that you need to understand with diet management or non-pharmacal management is about dysbiosis. Though dysbiosis or gut microbiota is still very new and still very exploratory stage, only 8% of the
Mani, we can close in 5 minutes.
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
yes.
right.
Yes. So only 8% of the gut microbiota has been explored till now. However, we do not have any concrete data to say that blood pressure is caused by dysbiosis or dysbiosis causes blood pressure. But there was an observation that the Helios cohort study observed that a lot of correlation was observed between streptococcus and the blood pressure and gram-negative bacteria and blood pressure. So we also know that dysbiosis causes inflammation, and inflammation can in turn cause hypertension and can cause CKD, and CKD and hypertension are again interrelated. The other factor that we can talk about is about the psychological aspect or about the mind training. Though again, this is in a hypothesis stage and there is no confirmatory conclusion to it, but still long-term effect of this needs to be worked on, and probably we might have some positive effect where the meditation or psychological relaxation is concerned. So to conclude, with various parameters of various grades of hypertension, we need to be focusing at lifestyle advice or lifestyle management as the basic crux of the treatment for the hypertension. This table again discusses the same with whatever grade of hypertension that we talk about or whatever comorbidities we have, we need to be looking at the lifestyle management as the basic treatment for management of hypertension. And to conclude, we need to have a multidisciplinary healthcare team. We need to be looking at telemonitoring also of the vital signs. We need to be focusing at medication tracking. We need to talk and discuss about lifestyle management and education, and probably look after video consultation also to improve the quality of life, to improve medication adherence, to improve drug safety, and to improve the health outcomes. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Imani. That was very well explained, put in a nutshell, taking everything through the absolute complete totality, lifestyle with diet, with a lot of changes that you are suggesting. So we'll ask Shilpa to take this program forward. Shilpa, over to you.
Yeah, ma'am. Thank you.
She's a very dear, close friend of mine. So I think everybody knows her. She's certified also in FODMAP diet from Monash University, winner of state level award for excellence in medical nutrition therapy, advanced certificate course in ERAS, advanced certificate course in applied enteral pharma nutrition and critical care. Oh, huge number of advanced courses she's done. Ex-editor, Diet Bike magazine at IPA Delhi chapter, chief consultant of a best-selling book published, speaker for the TV channel, the ex-president of US, Mr. Bill Clinton, has offered food at this restaurant in Delhi, and she had handled that. So that was a great achievement, Shilpa. Worked on a project for WHO Nutrition for Staff Health, been invited as expert at various panels, and she is the General Secretary, IDA Delhi Chapter, General Secretary, IPA Delhi Chapter, and co-convener, Necrophyne Delhi Chapter. So over to you. And she's, of course, senior consultant with Asian Hospital. So over to you, Shilpa.
Thank you so much. So we'll start with the question answer session over here. It's a panel discussion. But before we start, along with Himani and Manju, we have another panelist. So I would like to introduce our third panelist for the day. She's Dr. Lakshita Sharma, and she's Associate Professor and Director with MIT Medical School. She's heading the Dietetics and Applied Nutrition over there, and professional experience is like more than 17 years. She's a gold medalist in BSc Home Science and MSc Food. She's UGC NET qualified and PhD in food and nutrition, lots of publications to her credit. She's the recipient of an international award in the category of contribution to education community. She's recipient of Best Speaker Award and Women Scientist Award at an international conference at UK. She has delivered international guest lecture at MCM College, Dubai, UAE, at MSU University, Malaysia, and she has been appointed as guest speaker in training session at Institute of Company Secretaries of India under Ministry of Corporate Affairs. She's an active member of Journals and Research Community, and she's also the editorial board member with a member of International Journal of Nutrition and Agriculture Research and Peer Scientist Journal, International Journal of Nutrition and Food Science, and many more. So we welcome you, Dr. Lakshita.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have Dr. Lakshita, we have Imani, and we have Manju over here. So we have excellent presentations from Manju and Imani. So I was thinking that you have covered almost all queries of I think the audience. You've covered each and everything, the management, the latest guidelines, the factors affecting, and how we can control at the first level. So we understand that hypertension is a very, very serious, though it is a very silent one, but it is very serious if it is not being treated. And there are certain facts which have been stated by WHO that they say that an estimate of more than 1.28 billion adults, they are aged between 30 to 79 worldwide, they suffer from hypertension. So almost 2/3 are living in low and the middle income countries. So you can see how, I mean, hypertension is impacting. We are not discussing it. Normally we are been having lots of other non-communicable diseases onto our board, which we are discussing. But raising an awareness for hypertension is very, very important. And they have also estimated that 46% of the adults with hypertension, they are unaware of their condition. I mean, we can think it from this point, if they are unaware, then how much harm they are doing to themselves by this. And less than half of the adults, which is 42% with hypertension, they are diagnosed and treated. And a very small number has been diagnosed and treated. So approximately 1 in 5 adults, that is 20% with hypertension, have it under control. And it is the major cause of premature death worldwide. And one of the global targets for non-communicable diseases is to reduce the prevalence of hypertension by 33% between 2010 to 2030. This is the target being kept by WHO. So seeing this kind of a condition, we can think over that how we can actually create awareness and help in lowering down the incidences of hypertension. The theme which we have been initially been kept for 2023, that we need to actually monitor it. We need to first actually need to measure it properly. Once we are able to measure it properly, we need to control it, and lots of measurements, things which have been discussed into your presentation. So I would like my first question with Manju to you.
Yeah.
You've discussed about there is a link between diabetes and hypertension, and you've shown in a very, very beautiful way the management and the other things, the causes and everything which will relate to it. The question is that, is there a kind of assessment when we are doing assessment of hypertension, especially for diabetes? Is there any difference between type 1 and type 2 diabetic patient? Do we measure it? How do you find out if you are having a patient?
No, there is some relation with the blood pressure with age, definitely. But it has been found that 3 out of 10 has type 1 diabetic is suffering with hypertension. It's a big number, 3 out of 10. And whereas type 2 diabetes, 8 out of 10 are suffering with hypertension. So very important because, food, glucose is the source of energy in our body, which is supplied. And when there's excessive sugars in the blood, the glucose formation is getting affected. So the food supply to the organs is getting affected, and which can affect any organ to get, landed up in no problem.
So while you counsel, if the patient is type 1 diabetic, how do you make it sure that the hypertension is also being taken care? Is there a kind of a pre-assessment which you are doing for the patient? I mean,
Correct. So when we are seeing patient, definitely looking at the blood pressure, and for type 1 diabetics, we say once in a year, the retina checkup has to be done once in a year. The kidney checkup has to be done to make sure that we prevent all the organs which can get affected because of the blood pressure.
Are you more like, giving importance for hypertension in the first phase only or specifically for elderly or having major
For type 2 on a first this thing, whereas type 1 not on a first, because initially they're going through with a lot of stress and other things to handle initially. But yes, we have to keep in our mind that 5 years down the line from the diagnosis, they should have retina check, they should have the kidney check, so that they don't land up in a problem.
So Himani, I would like to ask, like Manju is dealing with diabetic patients. You have been seeing lots of CKD patients too. So you have been dealing with the major renal patients. So, how would you suggest that you can prevent or slow down the progression of hypertension, specifically for the kidney disease patient? Are there any kind of specific things you are following, guiding them?
Yeah. So actually hypertension and CKD goes a lot of hand in hand. And when you talk about CKD, it's not only about hypertension, but then about the electrolyte balance also that we have to be looking at. Yeah. And again, many times, dietary sodium in CKD patients is not corresponding to the hypertension. I mean, controlling the sodium content here probably might not improve their blood pressure. But then here, sodium intake becomes very, very important because you're looking at the electrolyte balance in the renal patients. That is one thing. The other is a lot of CKD patients are coming with a lot of other complications like uremia. A lot of, in general, they are little stressed out mentally as well. Then we have patients who are on dialysis again. So there it becomes very, very important for us to manage with the energy intake first, the protein intake and the fiber intake. So once this is taken care of, we are able to somewhere control the blood pressure management also in the patients.
So do you prescribe them any specific type of salt too for taking care, especially in the CKD? Because
so for them, it's a straight iodized normal salt. You do not have to go for a low sodium salt there.
Correct.
Because high potassium or hyperkalemia is something which we are majorly dealing with the renal patients. So very strictly, it has to be a regular iodized salt. Of course,
I asked this is the most important, or because hypertension is always linked with the salt.
yes.
And the people who, the term when the hypertension has been on their diagnosis paper from the doctor, so the first thing which comes into the mind is to change the salt. That is
Correct.
the first and the
Correct.
foremost thing which they are doing it. Apart from the dietitian consultation is the least one which comes. The
Correct.
salt. So I mean, like if you're talking over here, then the things would be reaching to many other people. There are so many dietitians who have joined this webinar. So with this, the awareness will be more that we are guiding our patients in the right manner while we are counseling them.
Correct. So the first thing is that do not have the rock salt, do not have the pink salt or any other salt, black salt. It has to be the regular iodized salt. Of course, if we have an indication where we have to restrict iodine, that's a different part altogether. But otherwise, it's the regular salt which is available in the market. And in moderation, not more than 2.3 grams in the entire day. That's very important. Yeah.
So we have seen that there are many modifiable risk factors as well as non-modifiable risk factors being associated with hypertension. So the unhealthy diet, the consumption of high salt or a westernized high fat, high salt foods, or higher into trans fats, or physical inactivity and consumption of tobacco, alcohol, smoking. There are many reasons for the hypertension. So Dr. Lakshita, my question goes to you. Can you talk about certain foodstuffs which actually helps into lowering down the blood pressure, or we call them the low sodium foods, which are freely advisable for hypertensive patients?
Yes, there are, my fellow colleagues have, very detailed in a presentation, they have explained everything, and they have talked about the DASH diet also. But that is a specified diet and that has to be planned. But if we talk about individual foods, that what are to be taken and what are not to be taken, so individual foods are many which are called in low in sodium. It's not about the salt, but also the content of sodium present in the food products. So first comes is the citrus fruits that are known to lower the blood pressure. But citrus fruits are also known to hinder the absorption of blood pressure medication. So we have to be very careful while we are taking grapefruits and oranges because they block the absorption of the blood pressure medications. So citrus fruits are to be taken, but they are not the alone in the list. So there are leafy greens. So Swiss chard and spinach are the only leafy greens which will lower the blood pressure or have low sodium. Then nuts and seeds, there is a class of nuts and seeds that is beneficial for the hypertension, like pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds. They are very good to they have a beneficial effect on lowering the blood pressures. Walnuts, almonds, pistachios, legumes, lentils, beans, peas we can take freely. Then there is a class of berries. No doubt in India, the berries are available for a limited period of time. But the question arises, can we have the dried berries? Yes, you can have, but it does not have the same effect as the fresh berries have. Then amaranth, olive oil, carrots, eggs, yogurt. These are all certain classes of the foods that can be taken to lower down the blood pressure levels. And apart from the salt intake, these are certain foods that can be included in the diet to lower down the BP.
So these are the normal general foods which have been available and which can be guided to the patients. So what about the food supplements? I mean, like, do they also have some impact on how do the patients find out that these food supplements are good for them if they are having hypertension, or they should completely avoid it?
Yes, there are certain studies that is going on about the food supplements because in today's world, we are dependent on the food supplementation. So in other words, like our food is not very much natural or it is adulterated. There are many questions. But there are certain supplements that are proven to be damaging for health for a hypertensive patient, like bitter orange, licorice, or the ephedra or Siberian ginseng. These are to be completely avoided for a hypertensive patient. And other food supplementations that benefit a hypertensive patient are the vitamin C supplementation. No doubt the tablet has the sodium content in this because that is ascorbate. The salt is with the sodium. So we have to limit the amount that we consume. But I will again say that don't go for the supplementations, have natural food products. And also there is a large question or majorly they asked about the protein supplementation that is mostly taken by the generation. And there are controversial studies available for the whey protein. Some says that it lowers down the hypertensive BP or the blood pressure of the patient. And some studies say that whey protein is beneficial for the hypertensive patients. But the limited is the key for everything. So if we take moderation, if we are taking anything in moderation, it is good for the health. If we are doing in excess, it is obviously bad for the health. So food
So there's questions in the audience that are dairy products being prohibited in case of hypertension?
No, berry
Anybody?
products like
Dairy products.
okay, there are many berry products like berries, yogurt is available in the market. So they are not prohibited for the hypertension.
I mean, sometimes doctors say that avoid dairy products if you are suffering from hypertension.
Yes, milk is high in sodium. We all know that. But yogurt and curd, it is not considered to be high in sodium products. So it can be taken for the blood pressure patient.
Okay, Himani, would like to add something?
Yeah, so we have to be looking at the pros and cons of consuming something first. Whether consuming something is going to benefit me against the damage it's going to cause to my body. One. Milk, I usually advise sometimes not to because of the exposure of the hormones that is coming with the consumption of the milk. One. Yogurt and curd in moderation could be recommended based on the probiotic culture that we are getting from the yogurt or the curd. So depending on that, you can decide on whether you want to give or not give milk. Again, if I'm dealing with obesity, I might stop the intake of the milk because I'm looking at the weight loss here. And again, reduction in the weight is going to help me improve my blood pressure in return. So it's basically an individualized decision that has to be taken depending upon a case-to-case basis.
So Himani, then there is another question in the audience. I think you can very well answer this also. How is hypotension managed in CKD patients?
Hypotension in CKD cannot be managed dietarily immediately. Okay, normally it is given by a high rush of salt or saline that we give to the patient. If the patient on dialysis, we give it by dialysate maybe, or by the infusion IV. But hypertension with dietary cannot be, because it's an immediate attention which is required. And we do not usually increase dietary sodium to increase the blood pressure there. It's the medical intervention that we look at in hypertension and CKD.
So I think Mukta has got his response for this. She asked this question. My next question would be to Manju, that how does the type 2 diabetes change the risk for any other diseases, like, I mean, including hypertension we are discussing about? So is there a kind of particular reason behind it?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Sorry. So your question was that how we can prevent chronic
Yes, type 2
complications?
diabetes changes the risk for other diseases.
That is there. See,
For
the whole
hypertension.
system. Yeah. So whole system is working with blood, all nutrition to all the entire organs get through the blood. So if the blood concentration is varying, whichever organ is at the, higher risk will get impacted, say our eyes or kidney or heart or any of the other organ. So that's why it is very important to keep your HbA1c within a range to prevent all the complications. And diabetes complications, all chronic complications are irreversible. So once the person has landed up, unfortunately, we cannot reverse on it. So prevention is the only way, and keeping a check on parameters annually, quarterly, depending on, the requirement of that particular thing, I'm sure you can prevent any disease which is diabetes related. Yeah.
So there is another question. This can be taken by anyone. So would like to ask, is the prevalence of hypertension lower in women as compared to men, or at a particular life stages?
I think after certain age, it becomes common to any gender. Initially, yeah, below 30, the chances are less. Males are more prone to hypertension. I hope Himani agrees with me, because Himani has got exclusive experience in that. But after the age of 30 or menopause, I think the cardiac risk, the hypertension risk, all are equal. They're not gender biased later on. What do you say, Himani?
Before 30?
No, so there was one slide which I had put up here, and which said that 1 in 6 women are hypertensive and 1 in 7 men are hypertensive. So not much of change there actually. Of course, we believe that the female hormones protect them against the cardiovascular conditions, but with changing trend now, with changing working hours and the stress parameter, that difference is gradually
Nullified. Totally nullified. I agree, Himani.
Yeah, nullified, exactly.
I think.
Okay. So Dr. Lakshita, we are discussing about the different symptoms and all, that it has been normally common for all, each and every, whether it's men or women. So do you would like to give us some insight on the preferred diets or some kind of exercise schedules for the hypertensive patients?
Okay, so I will say that the previous question of the gender bias is, as I have studied many research papers, and what they say is men are more prone to hypertension and cardiac problems than women. So the data shows that males specifically suffers from hypertension and cardiac disorders. All the data shows this thing. And the reasons can be many, the stress factors and all. So I slightly disagree with the research, because we have studied many papers, and the reason also we were trying to find out which came out to be the emotional factor or the stress factors in the males was more and females was low. And one of the very interesting study was that males do not express. So they suffer from the cardiac and the hypertension disorders, and females are more expressive and they tend to even, cry. So that is the outlet of the emotions and everything. So the mental health of the females is always better than the males. So the stress factor this way is, combated in females than in males. So this was a study, and there are many studies on mental health that supports this thing that yes, females do not suffer from mostly from the BP and the cardiac disorders than males. This was the answer of the earlier question. And now you were asking me about the different exercises. So diet have already discussed, and in the presentations also all have seen the food products and everything. Regarding exercise, one tip I will say that all of us know many, aerobic exercises, strength training exercises. There are many types of exercises, yoga, meditations. If the hypertension, you have to see why this disease, or what we call the symptom also hypertension, why it developed. So if the cause is the stress, then we should mostly focus on the yoga and meditation side. The mental peace is important. So those kind of exercises can help. If the hypertension is genetic, that is also very much factor, or obesity. There are many causative factors. So you have to see the causes of the hypertension, then you can decide about the exercise. And also much heavier exercises are not recommended for the hypertensive patients, because it can put a load on the arteries of the heart and it can cause stroke also. And one thing I have seen people exercising in the winters, the mornings, the colder. So vasoconstriction is one thing that impacts the hypertensive patients. So you should be very careful about the weather also while you are exercising, that there should be not a load on the blood vessels. They should not be constricted while doing the exercises, because the blood flow is increased in the constricted arteries and it can cause damage to the arteries. So there are many cardiac arrests that happens due to this. So the colder environment, there are the hormones that causes the vasoconstriction. So the exercise is to be decided by the medical team. It is not only that you Google it and you start exercising for the hypertension or the cardiac problems, because they are associated: diabetes, obesity, heart problems, or hypertension, or the renal disorders. They all are connected. So you have to decide. The exercise is decided that way. So
Very common question normally comes, you were discussing about the genetic part of this. So normally people ask that if we are having this kind of issue into the family, then the children would be definitely be having it, or what is your take onto this? I mean, if the parents, both parents are hypertensive, then children are bound to have it, or how?
The answer is in the gene expression, like the nutrigenomics that we study. We all carry the genes of our parents. If they have some disease, the genes are already present in us. But it is not definite why. The answer is the lifestyle. If we follow a proper lifestyle, we can delay the onset of the disease. It is, but we will have that disease because those genes are already present. Obesity, the genes are present. Diabetes, genes are present. Hypertension, the genes are already present from our parents or forefathers. So those genes are activated by certain environment and heredity, So we have to make a, conducive environment that these genes are delayed, or they are not activated. So in some people, definitely genetically they will suffer from the disease, and in some people it is not. It is only the heredity environment that plays an important role. So if you're following a healthy lifestyle, eating a healthy diet, so maybe the hypertension do not, attack you, or you do not suffer from that. And stress.
Anybody else like to comment on to this?
Yeah, I just like to comment. There is a study which says that twins staying in a different environment respond differently. So if they have a healthy environment, there would be chances that they don't become hypertensive. So there's a very, very good study which says that. So what Dr. Lakshita just said, I think a healthy environment will help them, though they are predisposed genetically.
Okay.
Correct, correct.
My next question
just want
is
to,
Manju,
Manju,
you want
just
to
want
add?
to contribute. Yeah. Just want to contribute, that's there's no doubt about that, if both the parents are there, the chances are pretty high, no doubt about it. Like Lakshata highlighted, with lifestyle, we can delay it. So imagine you develop a hypertension at the age of 30 and lifespan is 80 years. So you have to work up for that next 50 years, preventing all the organs which can get affected, Whereas if you develop a hypertension at the age of 60 or 70 with your healthy lifestyle and all, so you have to protect for next 20 years. So that difference is there.
Yeah.
And that's lifestyle is definitely is there, have a big contributor.
So Manju, I would also like to ask, like, is there a kind of a protocol, like if, or I mean, like, is it really helpful for diabetic patients to measure their morning blood pressure? And is there a kind of
Yes,
a,
yes, yes.
I mean,
You
relationship?
know, yeah, I was looking at Himani's slide, and that was a very beautifully, she has shown the morning blood pressure and the evening circadianism. So that is there definitely, and where your blood pressure has to be lower. If it is higher, then definitely the risk of, micro and macrovascular is much higher. So morning blood pressure, yes, definitely plays a very important role to
Okay.
prevent, because lower time, if you're high, then definitely higher time you will be much higher, and the risk to complication will be much higher.
So next question is open to all the, I mean, panelists. How do you take the, I mean, the measurement for a blood pressure? We normally use I mean, a fully automated machine at home. And then we have that hand used machine too, which is used into the hospital by nurses and all. So what is the best way, I mean, to take it?
The most accurate one is what they do in hospital. But if you are hypertensive, then measuring it at home is an indicator. So I've always found there be a slight difference between that machine and the ones that they do in hospital.
But there has been many incidences which have been shared, like I also have gone through it. The fully one, the automatic machines which we have been taking, the digitalized one, they always are landed up with sometimes error also, or
Yes,
the person might
that's
be
what. Yeah,
measuring in a wrong manner also. That
Yeah.
also.
I'll do one
we are
thing.
not experts. We are not experts at taking
Yeah.
it, and it's just an indicator that you're really far wrong. But I don't think you should be able to monitor your medications according to that blood pressure till you got it monitored in hospital under medical
Correct.
advice. I would
Correct,
take
correct.
that as the good blood pressure reading.
There
Correct.
are
It's
a
a
lot of
closely
other
monitoring device, basically.
Yeah.
Jani.
There are a lot of other parameters also involved. When you're doing it at home, how is your cuff placed? Whether it's straight, how your arm is placed, whether you did it immediately after walking or did you did it with rest or what. That is one
So
parameter.
what is the best way to take it? I mean, like if at home you are checking
With 10 minutes of rest with your hand, I mean your arm at
a
your
sitting
table
position
level.
or in a lying down?
No, so you have, I mean, for CKD, we take 3 readings. We take standing, we take lying, and we take sitting also. Okay. So it depends upon what you are looking at, basically. That is the important thing. But of course, it has to be at rest with 10 minutes at least after your walk or whatever you have done. One, it is the left arm that we are looking at, how the cuff is placed. Of course, a lot of machines are now coming up with a 360-degree cuff where the error is minimized. With the spirogynometer, if the person who's taking it is not skilled, you would again have an error with the conventional machine that we are using in the hospital. Okay, but as ma'am said and as Dr. Manju said, the machines which we're using at home are indicators for immediate management or treatment. If it is showing high, then it means it is high, and we need to look at as a clinical advice immediately. So that immediate guidance is what you get from the digital meters that you have at home and should be used actually.
So that means the preferred one are the relatively the older instruments which we have been using. That's the best one. So we have the question from the audience.
But just want to add one thing here.
Yeah.
We also have the wrist machines and we have the cuff machines. So the cuff machines are better, I mean, as compared to the readings, as compared to the wrist machines. I mean,
Okay.
that's my observation.
Okay. So our next delegate, she's Miss Ayushi Agarwal, and she wants to know that what could be the best post-exercise options for hypertensive patients. She wants to ask, like, to maintain the electrolyte balance. What could be the best exercise, and can that be the same what the general people tend to take?
See, when you are exercising, there's a lot of sweat happening and you have a lot of electrolytes being lost there. That's one part. If I'm talking about hypertension and exercise, then 30 minutes of aerobic exercise with same intensity is what is recommended. You should not be having sudden push movements like, sprinting and then walking again, then sprinting and then walking again, or maybe doing jerky movements like weightlifters do. That can, of course, as Dr. Shnita said about, put load on your capillaries and your arteries as well. So that has to be avoided. And of course, your fluid intake has to be managed, because we're advising 30 minutes of activity. 30 minutes of activity usually does not cause a lot of electrolyte imbalance. It is just the fluid or the water loss that we are looking at. We don't replace the sodium and the potassium in 30 minutes of exercise.
So Dr. Lakshita, this is the last question which I'm asking, and information which has been asked by one of a delegate also, that when we are purchasing a food item from the market, so how do we find it out whether it is loaded with sodium? How do we make it out if the sodium content has been written over there, but nothing has been marked that whether it is safe for a hypertensive or not? So how to read that label? I mean, like.
Okay. So the about the nutrition labels in India. So I will say that don't trust on the label. Sorry to use this, line, but I have seen myself many times the labeling is wrong and it is not up to the mark. So please do not follow those blindly that it does not have sodium or it does not have gluten and whatever.
So what
Because
is the safe food like if somebody wants to know about it?
Yes, so what I'll say, for hypertension, the first principle is to avoid the packet foods, processed foods. So packet food you don't have to take, so don't read labels for hypertension. You take fresh fruits and vegetables, that is only the option, and cook at home, in which the salt is measured and everything. Because first principle in hypertension, what we advise to the patient, processed foods, packet foods, pickles, anything you don't have to take. They are high sodium. The
Okay.
pre-processing would be there for the foods, they automatically become high in sodium. So if they say low in sodium, it is not right. So don't take those food products.
Even
So
bakery stuff.
we have one more question from our audience. This is Purna Ghosh. She wants to know, does weather play a role in hypertension, like higher eastern states people in India, which are more prone to hypertension than the westernized states in India?
If they
Yes,
talk
Shilpa,
about
it's more in Kerala. That's what information says.
It's more in eastern
Kerala.
side. Yes.
Kerala is the highest in hypertension.
See, it could be the lack of exercise, or maybe the eating pattern, or probably being at a high altitude and
Even this, like if I talk about Bangladesh, even the soil content is also, I mean, loaded with sodium. There the hypertension runs in the family. The CKD runs in the family.
yes, so it's basically lifestyle. I mean,
many
Higher
factors.
on the salt.
Right.
Yes. So I would, before I close, I would like to have a one-liner message for our audience over here. So starting from Dr. Lakshita, you are here. Just one-liner. What message would like to give today?
So as we dietitians are famous for restricting the diet, I will don't restrict the diet. So my everything, but in moderation. That is my message.
Okay.
Everything you should eat.
Okay. Imani?
yeah. So as Dr. Lakshita said, it's about not only about what you are eating, but how and when you are eating, that has to be considered. And every time restriction is not the only answer. You have to be looking at the surrounding parameters also before you are, defining how much intake has to be decided about.
Okay. Manju?
Plate to plate. So minimum processing, more in a natural form. And whatever, if you're eating haywire, work out and balance it.
Perfect. Ma'am?
I have one word of caution because I had very interesting patient yesterday. Hypertensive, gave up medications, went to yoga, and I'm not going to say the names, and then landed up with CKD in a month's time. So if you're hypertensive and you are on medication, please do not stop your medicines till you find your blood pressure is under control. And if you have to taper your medicines, it has to be under medical advice. I have
Correct.
seen many patients going into CKD or having a stroke because they got hypertensive at an early age and they said, "Abhi se blood pressure ki dawai nahi leni hai." And this was a young 30-year-old guy who's now into CKD. So just ignoring medication, yes, lifestyle very important. But if you're being put on medicines, please do not stop unless the doctor tells you to. Or taper it
Correct.
under medical advice. Is my advice to all of you.
Perfect. So
Lost your sound, Tilpa.
Yeah.
Yeah, back.
now it's okay.
Yeah, okay, yeah, great.
So I was saying that whenever we are counseling our patients, we
Yeah.
should be telling them one message that please do not own the disease. They always say, I am a hypertensive, I am a diabetic, I am suffering from high blood pressure, or whatever they are been saying. So we need to teach them, please don't own this. If you are owing to these things, then they're going to belong to you. I mean, they are going to be the sufferers now. So they need to be first change the statements. That is the way we should start it on. That's a message we should, propagate to our patients too. So it was a wonderful discussion with all the panelists and an awesome presentations by both our speakers. Thank you, Himani, for helping us out at the last minute.
Last minute.
There's no words to express thanks over here. And thank you, Dr. Lakshita, for an awesome platform for joining hands with IPEN Delhi chapter. It was all very well organized. I would like to thank our delegates too, been staying till the end and making it more interactable over here. And I think Dr. Dash couldn't join, so would be missing him out. He was very keen for this topic. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, complete organizing team of Amity, for helping us out. So we can
Thank
close
you.
the
Yeah.
webinar.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yeah,
for
thank you,
inviting us.
everybody. Great having you, Shilpa.
Bye.
Thank you, Lakshita.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.